All right, so this is the first in what is hopefully a series of instructional walkthroughs for journalists entering the Web3 world, and maybe folks already in the Web3 world who want to get an idea of what it looks like to journalists coming from traditional media. This, of course, coming from journaldao.xyz, a professional network for journalists in Web3, and also an incubator for Web3 tools for journalists. And of course, we're also on a mission to buy a newspaper. So all that is at journaldao.xyz. But for now, we're going to be focusing in on something a little more specific, and that is minting writing NFTs on Mirror. And what Mirror is, I think it's been around for about a year and a half right now. Is everyone able to see the screen share? Yeah, okay, cool. So this is a publishing platform, and it looks similar to we'll get into it in a second, but it looks similar to like Medium or some other Web 2 publishing platforms, but it comes with a little extra Web3 functionality, and that includes the ability to do things like crowd funds and also minting NFTs, embedding NFTs, and all other sorts of stuff. So what we're going to be talking about today is they have some new functionality with being able to, and are you able to see the astronaut here, or is it not switching screens with me? No, okay, so we're still on the Mirror page. So let's see here. So for example, in another life, I wrote a little bit. This is actually the first thing I did in Web3, and that's write a very weird piece of science fiction that I went ahead and published on Mirror. But in the process of that, I also minted an NFT. This is a collage that my wife created, and minted an NFT as a companion piece to go along with this. And that on Mirror is called an edition. Now, this is basically an embeddable NFT that you could embed into your piece of writing, your blog post, just like you would embed a YouTube video or anything else. Now what they've done and what we're going to be talking about is they've included some new functionality which allows you to actually make an NFT that is representative of the entire post, the entire piece of writing. And that's called a writing NFT versus an edition. And let me just see if I can get us over to an example of that. I don't have that pulled up, but we'll get to that in a minute. So now the difference between a writing NFT, let's see, this will get us there maybe. Yeah. So the difference between a writing NFT and an edition, as I said, is that the writing NFT is an NFT that is representative of the entire piece of writing versus something that you could just embed in. And they've made it pretty dead simple as well. Whereas with the embeddable edition NFT, you go through and you pick a piece of media to associate with the NFT, and all the other parameters, the supply, the pricing. You can set different tiers. Now, again, that's all embeddable edition NFTs, and that's the older model. Now, what's been introduced in the last couple of weeks is these writing NFTs. And when you want to create a writing NFT from a piece of writing, hopefully you can see this. All you need to do is select that you want to make that a bit of writing. That bit of writing an NFT. You select the price, you select the supply, and you hit publish, and it'll take you to a dialogue to do that via Optimism, which is a new layer 2 that's built on top of Ethereum that is a lot cheaper and faster than minting on Ethereum. and it's crazy dead easy actually. And so that's a benefit, because when folks go to buy these NFTs, buying it through Optimism, you might be paying a couple of bucks for the minting, the gas fees for minting, whereas when you're minting additions on the Ethereum blockchain with the earlier model, it was I mean, depending on the price of gas, it could be, you know, triple digits. So that's kind of the basics, and I feel like I just threw a bunch of information out there. I'm wondering if any of the other folks on the call here might want to clarify what might be confusing about all of that, and otherwise we could move into actually walking through this with Crystal.
I can save questions to the end. I have a few, but yeah, I'd like to just store them up and then ask maybe in a bit.
Okay. So Crystal, I think you might have one ready to go if we feel like we're in a place where everything that I said kind of made sense. I can let's see, can I throw the screen share over to you?
I think you might have to make me a host. And some really loud birds just decided to sit next to me. So just wave if either my internet goes out or the birds are too much, and I'll run inside.
Okay.
Let's see, share screen. Yep, there we go. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So this is my mirror. Hold on, I gotta move you guys out of the way there. There we go. Okay. So this is a draft that I created. I went ahead and put everything in place. So I'll just click real. Let me show you guys real quick. So here's the copy, and my internet's really slow. So this is one of the embeds, or the additions that you can embed into an article. As you are publishing your article, you can hit the little thing at the bottom of the screen that says blocks, and you can add content in, like Eric was talking about. So this is an addition. So at the bottom of my articles, I like to add in different ways that people can support the work. You can also do a thing called a split, which once you mint a split, you can put in multiple contract addresses. So if somebody leaves a tip, it will go to multiple places. It's a great way to, if there's multiple authors on your article, it's a great way to like include everybody. And then over here at the top, this little icon, this is what I always do before I publish an article. So I go through and I use artwork off of Canva for this. I like to make my NFTs a little different than my photography NFTs. So I put graphics that are related to the essay there. As Eric was saying, in the old method, you mint artwork associated with the article instead of the entire article. So I would put these in, and I still did this anyway because it kind of looks nice. Then over here, I just let this auto populate, but you can put in different metadata, different excerpts, stuff like that. So I do all this before I publish, and then just go ahead and take that back. And so it's all ready to go. So I just click on the arrow here, and you can publish the entry, and that just puts it out onto Mirror without making it an NFT. But for our purposes, just go ahead and click this little thingy right here, and you'll see this pop up. This is the new part that they just rolled out that involves Optimism. So go ahead and confirm that everything's correct. So check that. And then hit publish entry. And the thing that I didn't show you is that if you have your MetaMask already dialed in, I use the browser extension here. And if you're on Ethereum mainnet, it will prompt you to switch your network to Optimism. And we'll include some links that show you how to add Optimism into your MetaMask if it doesn't automatically pop up. And my mirror is slow. I don't know why, but it takes a little bit. So that's really it. Oh, there it goes. So then you just have to confirm it. I think it was about 50 cents last night to mint, which is normally when I have to mint a full Mirror essay with the artwork the old way on Ethereum mainnet, I would wait till about 1 a.m. at the cheapest gas price and try to get it in between $20 and $40 to mint. Just to give you some perspective on how different this is. So basically, this is just asking me to sign. Always make sure you double check before you click sign for any transaction that's communicating with your MetaMask. Let's see. And so now it's publishing the entry and we should be good to go.
I forgot to mention, we'll also have more on this in a blog post that is going to be up at journodao.xyz/blog. And there's some of those links on there to go through.
I think it did. I just took off the screen sharing. Let me see. There it is.
So I just was, so this is obviously for, or can I ask a few questions?
Mhm.
Okay. So what I understand is if you are already in Web3, you understand everything, then this layout, like going to Mirror.xyz, would be pretty simple, and you'd understand the interface of connecting a wallet. You'd connect the wallet, and then you'd be led to a dashboard that you just mentioned and showed us, where you can then start to copy and paste your text of an article that you've already done. So if you copy and paste it from wherever you've already written it out, it will still hold all the bolds and all the different things and the segments and the paragraphs and all that, or do you have to sort of edit it like you would in like a WordPress where you have to, you know, pretty it up?
You kind of have to edit it. Setting up the account is really easy. I walked a writer friend who has barely any technology experience at all. All we had to do was go to Mirror. We set up his MetaMask ahead of time. And then as soon as you connect that wallet to Mirror, it just automatically, you have your blog. So it's just ready to go.
Okay.
As far as formatting, it is a little wonky. You have to have patience. I think it's getting better over time. But I don't know if it's the communication between putting the text into the portal and then the communication with Arweave, which is the servers that hold the content, but sometimes there's a delay. I usually just go in, I paste it in, and then I go in and bold, put the formatting all in Mirror. It seems to be just better that way for me.
Okay, and then how about, like, you know, if you have a Canva account and you use the Pro or just the free version or an Unsplash, and you grab an image and now you're bringing the image from like sort of the Web 2 whatever into this blockchain, you know, this platform. When you mint it as an NFT, now do we need to credit that person, or how does that work? Is that something we can discuss? We don't have to discuss that now, but I just want to cover it because I think it's pretty important.
You should, any images that you're using, just if you do have permissions to publish, then just I would include it as a caption. When you put an image into Mirror, it gives you the option for caption. Also, before I put any images into Mirror or into any blockchain portal, I pull it into Photoshop and I check the metadata. Now, I'm mostly using my images, so I check the metadata and then I make sure that it has the right copyright in there. It has for personal use only, and then it has the right descriptions, so that since this image is going to live on the blockchain in perpetuity, I need it to have that metadata in place. Whereas in Web 2, I was never that particular about the metadata inside of my Photoshop files.
Great. So if somebody isn't sure, then it's probably better that they use their own photography or something they already own before they mint it, before they put it as an NFT. Otherwise, it can just live here. And then when you're actually, go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to clarify something real quick because I'll forget it. because these are being put on Arweave, you can still edit them after they're minted. So I'm not exactly sure the technical parameters. Eric, you might know more about this with the new optimism approach of minting the writing. But prior to that, you could still go in and edit the content itself after you minted, because it's on Arweave, which is just a server. It's not necessarily connected to blockchain that is immutable. So that is a distinction just to keep in mind.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask too. If you could edit writing NFTs after they've been minted as NFTs, and if that would reflect in like everyone who owns one of those NFTs. I don't know if we know the answer to that.
Oh, Eric,
I'm pretty sure it's the same. Like, you know, you can definitely go back and edit like the blog post.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can definitely go back and edit, because yeah, again, I think that's still on Arweave. But you definitely can't change the price or the supply that you chose when you minted it. That's pretty much locked in, and those are the only parameters you have control over. So yeah, I'm curious, like, I'm curious, like, if you change the headline, because I believe, like, you know, it's just for like the title on like OpenSea, I think it just grabs the title from your headline, and that's what it uses on OpenSea. Like, what I don't know is if you were to go in and change the headline of your article, does that impact anything on the blockchain? I'm assuming no. I'm assuming you're probably going to and in fact with an edition where I minted an NFT edition, I have noticed that still has, because I have changed the headline on that post, and I think, like, if you go in OpenSea or in my wallet, those NFTs are still, you know, titled the same as the original headline I minted or published under. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it would, because you've kind of
It's like locked in place.
snapshotted it in
Yeah.
as a, you know, and put it into like a contract. And the other question I have is, when you mint it, do you have to have like these tokens? Are you using ETH now that you're actually minting it on their? So
Yeah.
Optimism is not like, because I did see they have coins, so I'm not sure if they're pushing to use the coins or not.
So yeah,
Or
that's
tokens,
something.
sorry.
That's something that I wanted to go back over. So I mean, I think, you know, if you're, like you said, you can if you're a writer that's used WordPress or you know, one of those Web 2 publishing platforms, Medium or whatever, and I think this is kind of modeled after Medium roughly. So like, if you were to put a writer who's used Medium in front of a Mirror, you know, the actual publishing platform, I think they'll get it because it's the same. But like, there's some definite prerequisites in approaching Mirror, because like, you're not really going to be able to set up a Mirror site unless you know how to use MetaMask, or I think Wallet Connect is another one that it'll interact with. There's a third, I can't remember what it is, but you definitely need to know how to use a crypto wallet, and you should, you know, feel pretty comfortable with that, I think, before engaging in any of this. So you're definitely going to want to familiarize yourself with the basics of using a wallet and you know, exchanging crypto, and because in particular for doing a writing edition on Optimism, I had actually not used Optimism at all before doing this, so that it did require you know, in MetaMask, and it's pretty easy. It'll prompt you to say like, okay, you're going to now have to add the Optimism network to your MetaMask wallet, and you click a couple dialogues and it adds it for you. But yes, so then, as you're saying, Jennifer, you're going to need some ETH, and it actually uses ETH instead of the Optimism token. You're going to need that to be able to mint an NFT, and so that involves using something called a bridge, and I break this down a little bit in the blog post that we're going to have. So you basically need to bridge money from your wallet on the Ethereum blockchain, and it goes through a thing called a bridge to move to the Optimism blockchain. And that's actually, it's pretty simple. We've got links in our blog post to a whole bunch of different bridges, including one that Optimism itself provides, which is what I used. And so something to keep in mind is when you're going to need to move Ethereum from the Ethereum blockchain to the Optimism blockchain. That is a transaction that will happen on the Ethereum blockchain, and you will incur Ethereum gas fees. but it's not terrible. But you know, it's Ethereum, so it's going to be more expensive. So the reason I'm belaboring this point is if you're going to move currency to the Optimism blockchain, might as well do it in one transaction and move as much as you can and are ever going to want on Optimism. Do it all at once, so you don't have to pay one gas fee. And I think in my case, I paid about $3 to move over, to bridge over some ETH to Optimism, and then I went through the process of so you know, publishing the writing NFT, that was free. But then for somebody that wants to come through and collect or mint or purchase that NFT, that'll have, you know, a gas fee. Now on Optimism, this is just going to be a couple bucks versus, you know, 20, 30. I have paid during high traffic times, I have paid, you know, into the triple digits to mint an NFT on Ethereum. So those days are gone, hopefully, for now with Optimism. So that's my long-winded caveat there.
I guess I'm curious, like, now moving over, why someone would want to. Well, first of all, where can we now view all that? Is it a link that you give us and then it leads us to all of the articles that JournoDAO has published, or you both have published, so that we can view them? Like, so where does it, like, we know Medium, we know the platform Medium, we know where we can find articles in other media institutions, but like, where do we find your articles? Like, how do we access them? Are they only for people that are in the Mirror sort of have a sign in, or can we see them just through a link?
Yeah, it's it works just like Medium or any other publishing platform. We do try to link to everything, you know, from journodao.xyz/blog, but I want to make sure that I get our actual Mirror site. We don't have a top level domain for our Mirror site, but so our Mirror site is Mirror.xyz /journodao.eth. So basically what it does is it takes your ENS name and that's your directory for your Mirror site. And that's a publicly available website for anyone.
Okay, mirror.xyz.journodao.
Mirror.xyz /journodao.eth.
All right, maybe in the chat.
Yeah.
And so I have one more question, and then I'm going to stop because I feel like I'm doing an interview. But I'm actually trying to think about this for some of my media friends that are getting into and wondering why they would want to publish on Mirror. And so you have, let's say you've minted this article, and you said, I think maybe you minted 50 of those. Now, would someone be able to take that article and now, once they purchased it, be able to publish it in like a newsletter that they put out? Or how do they get to use that now that they have one of your NFT articles? Like, what would they do with that? Why would they buy it?
So, you know, I think, and Crystal, you can jump in on this too, but I think, you know, Mirror is positioning it as, you know, it's a, and I think this is correct. They're positioning it basically as a way to, you know, both support the writers in the same way, you know, you would support your favorite Substack people by subscribing to them. Instead of subscribing here, what you do is you pay for an NFT, which potentially down the line, you know, whoever created that NFT, they can attach whatever other benefits they want to it, whether it's access to a Discord or, you know, that NFT can become your ticket to an event or a workshop or a class. And then, you know, Mirror also positions it as, you know, an opportunity to start collecting these things. And here I'll share my screen. Like, I think Mirror actually has here, like Mirror has they have a leaderboard here for writing NFTs. So you can see, like, these are the writing NFTs in the last 2 weeks that people have collected the most. So Chase Chapman, well, the one introducing writing NFTs, of course, has the most. And then Chase Chapman has, you know, I've got over 200 people have collected one of her essays, and Lee Jin is another name. Oh, Packy McCormick, not boring. So there's, you know, there's a lot of some kind of like Web3 thought leadership all-stars here. So basically, I mean, I think the thing to do to answer your question, Jennifer, would be you would want to direct as many people as possible, you know, to the actual post and Mirror site itself, because that's where they would have the opportunity to mint the NFT for themselves to support the work and collect the NFT.
And then if I collected your NFT though, is it just for me to view or share? I mean, I'm just wondering what can I do with that?
I mean, you can, they're transferable as far as I know. If you wanted to sell it, I was actually trying to find.
So it goes into like an OpenSea marketplace or just a stay on Mirror
Well, it's in your wallet.
wallet?
So yeah, it's in this case, it would be your Optimism wallet. I'm trying, let me see if I can get to.
Yes, so that could be visualized by any platform that like visualizes
Right.
NFTs in your wallets and lets you exchange them. So any kind of secondary market, I would imagine. But I was going to ask if we knew if the Mirror writing NFTs could have royalties, or maybe some kind of syndication rights programmed into them, or maybe that's something that's later down the road.
So this is kind of what I feel like is the strike against Mirror is, the trade-off for it being that easy, so easy that Crystal was able to, click the two parameters and click publish, and then you've just, put your NFT up, you created the smart contract for people to mint. The trade-off of it being that quick and easy is that you have very little control over that kind of thing. So like, I think the answer as of now is no, unless you were able to do it. Unless you're, I don't know, Crystal, is there a way to do that, with third-party tools after the fact?
No, that's a great question. I haven't seen anything. It's so new. I don't really know. I'll hop into their Discord and ask though. It's a great question.
I mean, it seems like something that they could add to that little drop-down parameters menu. Like you can build in royalties or maybe like stipulate some kind of syndication rights or something. I mean, it seems like it's stuff that would just fall into that little drop-down menu when you click the NFT toggle.
I think the Mirror development team would say, well, we have the splits tool that you could use. But then again, for splits, you're back on the Ethereum blockchain and paying Ethereum gas fees. So, yeah, I think it's early days for this particular tool that they have that's using Optimism.
Yeah. So I think to Jennifer's point then to that question of, why would someone buy one of these? I guess the primary reason is to support the writer at this point. And to maybe own some kind of utility down the road.
Yeah, and from the writer's perspective, for me, I choose to mint on Mirror because I want a permanent record of what I've written. In the early days, they had Steam It blog, which I used to publish there too, and you could publish to the blockchain, but then somebody bought it and changed it all around. What I like about Mirror is that I can put it out there. It lives on the blockchain. If I want to mint it as an NFT so that people could support the work, then that's an option. If I just want it to live without minting, then it can be there. I also have the subdomain, so I can put cstreet.mirror.xyz. So when I'm like showing my work to be part of a DAO, or if somebody's hiring writers in Web3, I publish to Mirror and I send them those samples from Mirror so they know that I have experience publishing in Web3, so that they already know that I know somewhat of what I'm talking about in this ecosystem. So it's also from the writer's perspective, it entails that as well.
Okay.
So would there be like hyperlinks? Let's say I was writing an article on Medium and I saw one of your pieces on Mirror, and could I hyperlink your articles so that they're embedded in the article itself, even though it's Web 2?
Yeah, it's just a very long URL because it's got the blockchain attached.
So like maybe like a bit.ly or something.
Yeah.
I think that would work, yeah.
And another thing I wanted to add, I think to kind of get at what you were asking about, Jennifer, in terms of what can you do with the NFT, while you can't really go in using Mirror and set up benefits for it. I mean, once somebody buys that NFT and it's in their wallet, then you can use other tools for token gating or other to give that NFT value elsewhere, not using Mirror. So like once you've minted that NFT and it's in somebody's wallet, you could use a tool like Guild. So Guild will look in your wallet and say like, oh, they've got this writing NFT that gives them access to this Discord server or to this class or to something like that. So like,
So it's like a pass,
yes,
NFT
exactly.
pass
Yeah.
to, it's a bit of a resume builder too.
And Also on that point that Eric's talking about, if I wanted to say like 10 people collected from that NFT that I just minted, that essay, I could then airdrop them one of my photography one-of-ones that I shoot in July because I have their address. So I could just go into like Etherscan or whatever and send something directly to that address to just give them a little kickback for supporting me. So that gives me a direct connection. That's why Web3 is so great. It gives me a direct connection to my supporters using their addresses.
Got it. I was just curious because we're still like as media driven people, we not necessarily ourselves, but like the world. We always like to repurpose and reshare and then put it into our newsletters. And then, so I was just thinking, wow, I could buy the most original written articles and have this incredible like newsletter of all these great things I've collected and send it out. But it sounds like that's not the case. It's more like the purpose is to learn how to be a publisher in Web3, to professionalize it, and also to then collect it for utility for what's to come, as well as share it on Web2 through hyperlinking. Is there any criteria as a writer to publish on Mirror so that it's legit writing?
No. The only like differentiation is you'll notice, I don't know if you noticed, but so like our domain, if you want to go see the JournoDAO site, is mirror.xyz/JournoDAO.eth. And if you might have noticed on my personal one, it's mars.mirror.xyz. So I have an actual subdomain, and let me see. I don't know if it'll actually share the URL on this, but so like this one. So the reason that I have a subdomain for this one, again, mars.mirror.xyz, is that that was kind of a perk that they were giving away early on. Like they actually had people vote through basically kind of like a Twitter popularity campaign called the Right Race back over the summer, where they were actually handing out mirror tokens. So you would get, they did a vote every week, and the top 10 people in this vote would get a mirror token, and that mirror token could only be exchanged for a subdomain of your choice, as long as it wasn't taken. Like that, it didn't have any other value. You would take your token and burn it, and in exchange you would get a subdomain. And now I think they're giving these away through a vote on their server. Crystal, you're involved with that. It's basically
I got mine because the guy that runs the server reached out to me on Twitter and DM'd me and asked me if I wanted one, based on an article that I'd written and published on Mirror. So they go through and read, what's being published on their platform, and if they like it, they say, okay, do you want to come? But then they also have a in their Discord, you can nominate other Mirror essays, and then the group votes on who gets the token that week, and then they issue like 5 or 6 tokens, and then once you get your token, you can burn it for your subdomain. So writers can still build their portfolio, their platform through Mirror, and then also get that subdomain. It does make it easier to share your Mirror for sure.
I mean, it's it's a small perk. It literally just it's just kind of cool. You don't have to type the / after to get to your site. But other than that, I mean, so that's a long way of explaining it. It's just like any other website that you can share anyway, and anyone can sign up for not a subdomain, but anyone can sign up for a Mirror site. The subdomains have to be chosen.
And also to the question of why someone would buy this in addition to supporting the writer, and maybe this isn't a motivation we want to like endorse as much as supporting the writer, but someone could buy these as a speculator if they think that they're going to go up in value on secondary markets. I think that's also something worth considering. Maybe that's not something we want to endorse.
There was
pointing it out. Yeah.
There was a really brief moment around the time of the ENS airdrop where somebody tried to sell the Mirror tokens, the one that gets you the subdomain. somebody managed to actually sell a couple of those on a secondary market, and they went for like $45,000 each. So there was like a brief moment where people were like freaking out that they should be hoarding their token and not burning it for the subdomain. And I mean, Mirror like quickly like shut that down. Like, you can only use this to burn it for the subdomain. But there are a few people lost for about $40,000 each buying one.
Wow.
I have a quick question about publishing as a person. Obviously, is you're supporting the writer, the journalist, or the photographer. But publishing as a like a DAO, like say JournoDAO has a collection. I don't know if you showed that collection up here on the screen. But let's say there's several people that are writing under the JournoDAO domain on Mirror. Is there a way to then start to publish as a DAO and publish as like, sorry, I'm just going to put her on mute. You want to put Amy on mute? Just real quick. Okay. Hi, Amy. Yeah, is there a way to actually publish as a DAO so that it's like the DAO is able to then become on the leaderboard, and so we get more into like publishing as a media group as opposed to an actual person? I don't know how that works. It just seems like it would be the next move, because that's what becomes media, right? Is we then become like the.
So this gets a little nuanced, and hopefully maybe the Mirror folks and developers watch this and get this far in to take in this constructive criticism. So Mirror does allow for contributors. So for example, on the JournoDAO Mirror site, Crystal and Keith, I think right now, are both set up as contributors, and I think or maybe just Keith is on Mirror. Keith and I have both published stuff. What we've run into is so like Keith can publish something under the JournoDAO Mirror as a contributor. And then what we ran into is that, however, only Keith can go in and edit that post, which like for like a media organization, like where you have editors editing things by other people, like that's a non-starter. And so that's actually the reason we're posting most of our stuff on our own blog using Ghost, which is a much more full-featured publishing platform where we can go in and edit each other's stuff just like you would in a newsroom. So unfortunately, like Mirror has started down that road, but it's not quite all there, I feel like, to suit a full-fledged media organization.
Great. I mean, this is an incredible walkthrough, and I feel like it's awesome to see writers coming in here and being able to get notoriety and even potentially funds for their work. And I love the idea of being able to publish through like JournoDAO so that it becomes itself its own work of exceptional journalists. So yeah, I think that hopefully that is the next move, or a move soon.
Were you gonna add something, Crystal?
I was gonna just brainstorm a way to do like a treasury wallet, but I'll have to write it down later. It's in my mind, it makes sense, but I think when it comes out of my mouth, it's gonna be like, no.
I wonder if we should do a clean cut on this on the recording so that we can, or I mean, unless we move to other topics, but I just think this is a really nice share, and I think that a lot of people will be extremely interested in seeing this. Because we're all very curious about Mirror, and I haven't seen a lot of like real in-depth or even just some walkthroughs, so it's been really helpful. I was very intimidated by it, but now I don't think I will be.
Yeah, I mean, the most intimidating part is setting up the MetaMask wallet, honestly. Like once you get past that hurdle, it for the most part is like any other publishing platform, and it just has these extra features of being able to add what they call them economic blocks. So like the NFT edition block, the splits, and then they have like an actual crowdfund block where you can literally contribute and in exchange for contributing to the campaign in a more, crowdfund style way, you get airdrops. You automatically get tokens of that are also minted through the Mirror platform, and that's kind of a whole other thing. But we're kind of, we'll keep it more focused on the NFTs, because I feel like that's like another hour-long discussion to get into the minting tokens thing.
I mean,
Right.
one
But you could
quick
add,
point.
yeah.
Sorry. Well, one quick point to the point that was made earlier about publishing as JournoDAO, as a collective. So that could be something to consider for any later tokens or credentials that we have, where someone with a certain credential can publish under the auspices of JournoDAO, and maybe that can give some kind of cachet to them that would, make their writing, at least as a credential, would, I don't know, increase the value of it in some capacity. And then also the sales may also be distributed to everyone else with that credential. So that could be some kind of a way to incentivize people getting this credential, using that to publish writing NFTs, and then having those proceeds distributed to everyone else with that credential. It's just maybe something that could be incorporated to their platform. I don't know if it would work right now, but
Yeah,
maybe later on.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Like, you'd almost have to have a treasury wallet that was not the main treasury wallet, but that was like a mirror treasury wallet. And then like that wallet, I don't know if it would work this way, but you could multi-sig it out to all the participants so that everyone could access with the wallet to edit. Then you wouldn't have to have multiple editors. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
Yeah.
so
It's definitely, yeah, it's definitely like above some people's heads, probably,
Yeah,
that
but
might view this, but
potential
it's
might be.
like a really good idea.
Yeah.
I just have one more quick question, and then I'm just for anybody that's kind of new to this and also is interested in like more of a collective kind of media experience. So when you guys publish, like Eric, you publish yours as your own person on this platform, you can then go in and mention JournoDAO. Can you hyperlink to JournoDAO, saying like, hey guys, if you want to see some other journalists or so see our collective, you can hyperlink in your articles so that at least there's a mention. So I'm thinking that that's another way that writers can support the media or the projects they're part of. I'm just not sure about the hyperlinks. I didn't ask about that, and I didn't look at the article.
Yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, you can hyperlink out from any article. I mean, just imagine it's like a Medium or a WordPress post. Anything you could do in those, for the most part, you could do in a Mirror post.
Right.
And that's
You're just going in as your own identity, as your own wallet, right? So that's the whole thing, is the wallet thing.
Yeah, and I mean, that's obviously the reason. I'm kind of harping on that as a criticism, that like we can't go in and edit each other's posts as an editor. Like that's obviously part of the design, in terms of not wanting it to be centralized, and you want each post to be connected to one person's individual wallet. And so that's just kind of, it's a conflict point between what Mirror is trying to accomplish, and frankly what Web3 is trying to accomplish, and journalism, which has an element of centralization baked in, which is called the editorial process. So like, yeah, that's something that what you were talking about, Crystal, is interesting. Something like that might become necessary. It's like the editorial process as a multi-sig wallet that might be something we have to invent.
Yeah, like the DAO is going to have to make its own editorial board and its own access points so that they can come together as a collective within the DAO, and then the DAO can go into Mirror, as editors, and then using that same wallet, and then you just have to have a way to make sure that you're monitoring, the transactions.
Yeah, it feels like a tough problem to solve for me, and maybe it's the credential thing that you were talking about, Spencer, because you want, like, just in terms of like journalistic ethics, like you want to be able to publish like under your own byline with your name and picture next to it, because you as an individual human meatbag person are vouching for the content. You're putting your reputation on the line, and that's kind of an important part of journalism. but at the same time, you know, it's also a team effort, and there's other people that have their fingerprints on that story with your name on it. So yeah, it's just kind of a conflict, because it's, you know, the journalistic process is like by nature a little bit centralized to have checks and balances on the bias of the individual, right? So there's some you know committee work and group work going on there to check that. So, and the technology doesn't quite account for that, so I guess we have to make it.
Yeah, and also what we're describing here seems like we'd be piloting a Web3 newspaper model that we may be able to walk some other newspaper through once we've figured out how to do it, right?
Yeah, I feel like this is the curriculum that we're fleshing out in real time, because this is like what Eric just described. This is making that transition from journalism Web 2 to Web 3. You have to change that individualistic mindset so you can still, you know, factually support the work of the individual, but then have it as presented as a collective. Interesting.
Yeah.
I can't think of something that maybe I can think of a few examples, but I can't think of many examples of something that I wrote as a journalist that was made worse by an editor. Like it rarely. I mean, just having like another set of eyes on something is pretty essential to I think the creative process, but also obviously when you're, you know, involving things like fact checking and checking for bias and that kind of thing, like you want more than one brain involved.